Banjul, the capital city of the Gambia, stands at the confluence of the Gambia River and the Atlantic Ocean, serving as the political, administrative, and commercial heart of one of West Africa's smallest yet most historically significant nations. Situated on St. Mary's Island, which lies along the river's mouth, Banjul is positioned at the very center of the nation's economy, culture, and governance. The city's strategic location has played a key role in its development, providing both historical and modern relevance as a trading port and a key administrative center in the region. While Banjul may be relatively small in size compared to other capital cities, its cultural richness, historical legacy, and role in the Gambia's growth and development make it an essential focal point for understanding the broader context of the country. Banjul's history is deeply rooted in the dynamics of colonialism, trade, and African resistance, with the city's origins dating back to the early 19th century. Prior to European contact, the Gambia River was already a central point of trade and cultural exchange between different African groups. Indigenous ethnic groups, such as the Mandinka, Wolof, and Jola peoples, lived along the river's banks and engaged in agriculture, fishing, and trade. The river itself, often referred to as the lifeblood of the region, provided access to the broader West African interior, while also offering opportunities for coastal trade and contact with the wider world. The history of Banjul's establishment is intertwined with European colonial expansion, specifically by the British. In 1816, the British established a fort on St. Mary's Island, marking the beginning of European settlement in the area. Initially, the British intended the fort to serve as a strategic post for suppressing the transatlantic slave trade, which was rampant in West Africa at the time. This fort became known as James Island, and its construction was symbolic of the wider British interest in controlling the Gambia River, which was seen as a crucial route for trade and military access in the region. In 1821, Britain formally established the colony of the Gambia, a small stretch of land along the river, with the settlement at Banjul as its administrative center. The development of Banjul as a trading post and port city followed a pattern similar to other colonial settlements in West Africa. European powers established strategic ports and forts along Africa's coastlines to control trade routes and facilitate the export of goods such as ivory, palm oil, and, unfortunately, enslaved people. This process profoundly impacted the Gambia River's indigenous communities and reshaped the political and economic landscape of the region. By the late 19th century, Banjul had grown into a thriving colonial port, with the British using it as a base for their economic and political interests in West Africa. As the Gambia became more integrated into the global economy under British colonial rule, Banjul became an essential hub for the transatlantic trade networks that connected Africa to Europe and the Americas. The city's population, which had originally been predominantly made up of indigenous Africans, began to include more European traders, settlers, and administrators, alongside migrants from neighboring regions of West Africa. This brought about a diversity of cultures, languages, and religious beliefs in the city, a characteristic that remains evident in Banjul today. The 20th century brought significant changes to both Banjul and the Gambia as a whole, particularly with regard to the country's push for independence. Following World War II, the British Empire was undergoing a process of decolonization across Africa, and the Gambia was no exception. Banjul, as the capital of the colony, became the focal point for the political and social movements that sought independence. The Gambia achieved its independence from Britain on February 18, 1965, with Banjul remaining the capital city of the newly sovereign nation. In the years following independence, Banjul continued to evolve into the cultural and political center of the Gambia. The city served as the home of the national government, housing the president, the National Assembly, and various administrative bodies. While Banjul remained the capital, it also faced the challenges of urbanization, population growth, and development. These issues reflected the wider challenges facing the Gambia in the post-independence era, including the need for infrastructure development, education, healthcare, and economic diversification. Banjul's geography is an important feature that contributes to its significance as both a capital city and a port. The city is located on a small island at the mouth of the Gambia River, with the Atlantic Ocean to the west and the river stretching inland for hundreds of miles. The Gambia River, which is the longest river in West Africa, has long served as a major transportation route for goods and people traveling through the region. Banjul's location allows it to serve as the country's principal gateway for maritime trade, with the city's port handling the majority of the nation's imports and exports. The river's role as a trade artery has greatly influenced the economic development of the city, particularly in the agricultural, fishing, and transport sectors. The climate in Banjul is typical of West Africa, characterized by a tropical climate with a pronounced dry season and a wet season. The dry season, which lasts from November to May, is marked by hot temperatures and relatively little rainfall, while the wet season, from June to October, brings heavy rains that are essential for the country's agriculture. The tropical climate, combined with the fertile soil in the surrounding areas, supports the production of various crops, including groundnuts, peanuts, millet, rice, and cassava. Banjul's proximity to the coast also means that fishing is an important part of its economy, with the city's markets and local industries relying heavily on the catch from the Atlantic Ocean. In terms of its cultural identity, Banjul is a melting pot of ethnic groups, languages, and religions. While the majority of the population in Banjul belongs to the Mandinka, Wolof, and Fula ethnic groups, the city is home to a wide range of other communities, including the Jola, Sarahuli, and other ethnic groups from neighboring countries. This diversity is reflected in the city's languages, with English being the official language, but various local languages, such as Mandinka, Wolof, and Pular, also being spoken by large segments of the population. Islam is the dominant religion in Banjul, with the majority of the population practicing Islam, while Christianity is also practiced by a smaller group of people. One of the most notable aspects of Banjul is its vibrant markets, which serve as both commercial hubs and cultural gathering places. The Albert Market, one of the largest and most well-known markets in Banjul, offers a wide range of goods, from fresh produce and spices to textiles and handcrafted items. Visitors to the market can find colorful fabrics, jewelry, wooden carvings, and other traditional crafts, as well as sample local foods such as jollof rice, fish, and traditional stews. The market is not only an economic center but also a place where locals come together to socialize, exchange ideas, and celebrate their shared cultural heritage. Banjul's architecture reflects the city's colonial past as well as its African heritage. The city features a mix of European-style buildings, such as government offices and colonial-era homes, alongside traditional African architecture. The most prominent colonial-era structure in Banjul is the Arch 22, a monumental archway that commemorates the coup that brought former President Yahya Jammeh to power in 1994. The city is also home to several historical landmarks, including the National Museum of the Gambia, which offers visitors insight into the country's history, culture, and diverse heritage. The museum's exhibits include artifacts from the country's pre-colonial era, as well as colonial-era items and collections reflecting the various ethnic groups that call the Gambia home. In terms of governance, Banjul serves as the political center of the Gambia, housing the country's government institutions and offices. The president's residence is located in the city, and the National Assembly of the Gambia meets in Banjul to discuss matters of national importance. Banjul is also home to the High Court, which has jurisdiction over legal matters in the country. While Banjul itself is the political capital, many of the country's key industries and commercial activities are based in nearby areas, particularly in the Greater Banjul region, which includes the towns of Serekunda and Bakau. These areas are home to larger populations and provide more space for urban expansion and commercial activity. Economically, Banjul plays a central role in the Gambia's growth and development. The city's port is crucial to the country's trade, particularly for the export of groundnuts, peanuts, cotton, and other agricultural products. The city is also an important hub for tourism, as visitors come to Banjul and the surrounding region to experience the country's natural beauty, cultural heritage, and warm climate. The Gambia's beaches, national parks, and wildlife reserves attract tourists from across the globe, and Banjul serves as the gateway for these visitors. Efforts to develop tourism infrastructure, including hotels, resorts, and tour companies, have led to a growing tourism industry that contributes significantly to the national economy. Like many cities in West Africa, Banjul faces challenges related to urbanization, infrastructure development, and environmental sustainability. The city's growing population has placed increasing pressure on its infrastructure, particularly with regard to housing, transportation, and sanitation. Efforts are being made to improve the city's infrastructure, including the construction of new roads, the expansion of water and electricity networks, and the development of waste management systems. Additionally, Banjul, like other coastal cities, is vulnerable to the effects of climate change, particularly rising sea levels and the increased frequency of storms. Addressing these challenges is essential for ensuring the city's continued growth and resilience in the face of changing environmental conditions. In conclusion, Banjul is a city that represents the heart and soul of the Gambia, serving as a central point for its political, economic, and cultural life. From its early colonial roots to its modern-day significance as a regional hub, Banjul continues to play an essential role in shaping the future of the country. With its diverse population, rich cultural heritage, strategic location, and ongoing development, Banjul remains a key city in the broader context of West Africa, offering insight into the region's past, present, and future.